I can't help it. I'm an asshole.
Yeah,
You got that coffee in him.
Get the coffee in me. I'm piping to go, boy.
you're fucking
Piping it up.
You're full of buttermilk and coffee.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, the biscuits. Yeah. That's fair.
What's up, guys? I'm Adam.
Alex,
Mitch.
Welcome back to the Blitzkrieg Pop. This is episode 27. Before we get going,
you can follow us anywhere, right? We're on everything.
yeah, I'm getting to that. You can follow us at Infinite Paducah on all forms of social media, and as always, do what the Batman says.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
And we're going to talk shit about Morbius.
Are we talking shit?
Well, I mean, maybe not talking shit. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but yeah.
We're just gonna take a look at this trailer and see what in the hell was going on with it.
I think we're talking bat shit.
Well, that's
Whoa. See what
guano. If Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, taught me one thing, it's that a man can take spears in the legs and be okay, and that bat shit's called guano.
Guano.
Bumblebee tuna, your balls are showing.
Oh, and also a man can come out of a rhino's ass.
I was just going to say that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
At least it
you
wasn't
said
a
that.
real rhino.
No, that was.
I love that he gets naked and he's like sweating and shit. In
I
there.
love that scene.
I love that.
Pretty funny.
That might be.
Mommy.
It's an underrated movie. Isn't it?
Well, you know, the movie really sucks. I mean, really, but it has great scenes. I love it. I love it when he punches the guy with the monocle and like wears him like he's a scarf.
All that
that's-
shit's amazing.
That's in 2, isn't
That's
it?
in 2, When Nature
Yeah,
Calls.
When Nature Calls.
I
Yeah.
feel like the rhino's in 2 as well.
It is. Most of that is.
Yeah, yeah, like the over the top goofy shit.
I haven't seen those since I was a kid. Let's do an episode on them.
I watched them. I actually watched them not too long ago.
Oh, cool.
Showed Ace Ventura to my kids. You know, as far as they know, Jim Carrey's a serious actor.
Oh yeah.
The number 13. Oh,
Yeah.
23.
Except did you guys
23.
know that he's Eggman in the Sonic
Yeah,
movie?
he is.
And he looks he has a handlebar mustache. He
Yeah.
looks terrible.
He looks like someone that
doesn't
would
have-
hang out at etc.
Well, he doesn't have like a big fat ass and like thick thighs or
No,
nothing
he
like that. It's
he-
just Jim Carrey.
He really doesn't look the part of Eggman.
He's not redheaded.
No,
Yeah, I
He's
don't
not
like that.
missing hair right in the middle. He's got
got
like a pompadour.
What do you know about Morbius, Munch? I mean, in
the,
general.
the living vampire.
Adam, what do you know about Morbius?
I don't think his origin involves him just getting bit by bats standing in front of a cave.
I thought that was Batman's
That's
origin.
Batman's origin. He just stands in front of a bunch of bats and they pass over. And
Michael Morbius has a healthy relationship with his living parents.
Yes, he does. What I think I do know about Morbius is that he appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 101.
Do you know who wrote that comic?
I believe that was Jerry Conway?
Munch?
The fuck you? I don't know.
Roy Thomas.
Roy Thomas.
Illustrated by?
Gil Kane?
Damn right, my man.
I can tell that's Gil Kane.
Yeah, that's Gil Kane. I have an interesting factoid about this issue. You
Okay,
guys
hit
want to
me.
hear it?
Yeah.
You want to hear it, Muncher?
Well, why not? Fuck it.
This is the first comic on Amazing Spider-Man that's not written by Stan Lee.
That was the first one, huh?
First one.
He went all the way to 100?
Stan went to 100, and he was writing a movie script that never came to be, and he gave it off to Roy Thomas, his right-hand man at the time.
It's probably for the best.
I mean,
He
Roy
a-
took over
he-
most of Stan's books.
Oh, yeah. He asked Roy to make a Dracula-type villain that had a supervillain costume,
Damn, he did a good job.
and they come
Not
up
bad.
with Morbius.
I mean, I'm assuming Gil Kane designed his look.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking cool, though. You know, you think Spider-Man 101, it's already a key issue, but you don't think about it being Stan Lee's, swan song,
no, really.
100.
No,
Well, I
not.
mean, if you take a look at him like real close, as far as design goes, he's a little bit like Black Bolt mixed with like Elvira.
Yeah, I mean, definitely 70s.
Because I mean,
definitely
whenever he
70s
pulls his
vibe.
arms up, he's got like the
wings
bat wings
things.
thing like Black Bolt
Like
does.
like
and he's got
Undertaker.
that real low cut cleavage like Elvira.
He does have,
He's got the cleavage.
but you
shirt.
know, like so did Power Man, so did
Oh,
Iron
yeah.
Fist.
Oh,
like every character that debuted in the 70s.
I was
has
always
that.
burned up by the collar on Iron Fist. I don't
the one
mind it
that's like
on
this big.
Morbius.
It's the same collar.
It's the same shit. Probably created by the same team.
But
might have
Morbius
been.
was never like 10 feet tall.
Oh my God, we need to look and see if Gil Kane did create the look of Iron Fist.
I feel like John Byrne did, but I'm not positive.
I'm not sure either.
I don't know who any of these people are. So
Well,
God damn it, Eric.
Amazing Spider-Man is 1971.
So here's what I remember about the issue is that Spider-Man he has these 6 arms at that time, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's all fucked up. He's got the extra arms.
I
He's
think Stan Lee left it that way at the end of
issue
100.
100
I
is-
believe. I'm not positive.
Yeah, so the Morbius thing, I know the issue features a team-up between Spider-Man and the Lizard, and they fight Morbius, who's actually just trying to cure himself, right?
Yeah.
Of a blood disease.
Of a blood disease.
He
I don't think there's a cave of bats in it.
I doubt it. But
Or any soft-eyed models
So-
named Laredgetto.
Laredgetto. I do have...
I heard you say Laredgetto.
Who said that?
You did, but you didn't know you said it.
Oh, when did I say
You were
it?
like, Laredgetto's awesome. Or you said Laredgetto's a fine actor.
Laredgetto's a fine actor. Let me just get that out there. That's his evil twin.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Got the
He's-
little mustache.
He's got a scar.
Evil twins always have to have a scar and a mustache.
Yes, they do.
Always. Always.
That's good
But
shit.
no, I don't know if the scene you see in the trailer where he's got his hand up to the bats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like bullshit.
Well,
Cuts his hand and
Yeah, it's kind of weak looking.
One
But
time-
overall, were you guys? I mean, you were impressed by
With
it,
the
right?
trailer?
Yeah.
I liked it.
well, I think it looks like it's got potential. I mean, but to be fair, I said that about Venom, and that movie was trash.
I feel
Well,
like
this is from the studio that brought you Venom.
I know.
I feel like Venom had a steeper hill to climb as far as, me caring about it because it didn't have the Spider-Man connection. Where Morbius can exist without Spider-Man.
Sure.
Venom literally, in my opinion, needed Spider-Man to exist.
Just
Yeah.
because Morbius was debuted in Spider-Man doesn't mean that he exists because of Spider-Man.
Right, but like similar,
Venom is a lot closely tied in.
Yeah,
than-
a great example is Punisher can exist without Spider-Man, and he is a Spider-Man villain.
Right. It started out that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a great example because he becomes an iconic anti-hero.
Man,
maybe the
Well,
iconic anti-hero.
Spider-Man is Marvel's Batman, and that most of the badass shit that comes out and becomes anything on its own comes out of Spider-Man.
or Fantastic Four.
Kingpin comes from the pages of Spider-Man.
Right. Kingpin. Oh, the list goes on and on.
And all these guys are pretty big on their own. I mean, Morbius, I would say, is way more under the radar than most of
He's
these.
under the radio
yeah.
too.
The radio killed the vampire star.
So what I found interesting about his origin story, not only did he use the blood of a vampire bat to try to cure himself, but also, electroshock therapy just for good measure.
So he called up what is his name? Matt Dillon, is that what's his name? The Shocker. Max Dillon.
Max Dillon.
Calls
no,
up Max-
that's
the
Electro.
Scorpion.
No, Max Dillon is Electro.
Oh, Max.
That's what Electro. He calls up Electro and he's like, "Hey, can you come over and shock me?"
Yeah, I mean, basically, it just makes me want to go, give me shock treatment. Give me shock treatment.
Ramones song, people.
Yeah, come on. You
Throwing it back to the Blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
The Blitzkrieg.
I was kind of feeling sick last week, and I thought maybe I'll take some vampire bat blood.
Yeah,
You
why
know
not?
what I'm saying?
He really,
Golly, what kind of blood disease is this?
it's a rare one.
Unspecified.
Unspecified rare blood
Yeah,
disease.
just like gamma
that
rays.
just so happens to be inside of hematologist. Or that's a blood doctor, isn't it?
Hemoglobins.
He's
yeah, you're right. Hematologist.
he's a hematologist.
no, he's not. I don't.
I thought he
think.
was He's a blood doctor,
He's a
isn't he?
biochemist.
Oh fuck, he's a hematologist.
All super villains are biochemists.
That's
Munch.
true. He's a goofy fucking blood doctor.
You know what? I really don't know. There's not a lot of.
What do blood doctors do?
I have to.
Tell you your shit's fucked up.
Your blood is
They
fucked.
look at your
you,
blood.
You might want to fly to a cave of bats, sir. I highly
out of the
recommend.
country.
And the insurance won't cover that. So
It's highly dangerous and irregular.
I don't know what they do.
Medicaid's not paying half of that one.
Not even gonna try.
Let me throw out something that is on my mind as soon as I see this trailer.
Sure.
I enjoy the trailer. I did scoff a little bit when it says from the studio that brought you Far From Home and Homecoming, even though, yes, technically they did, but creatively it's Marvel that brought those movies
The
to you.
success of those two movies you just mentioned was not Sony's.
No, it was Kevin Feige and his team at Marvel.
Of course.
Everybody listening to this knows, and I feel like there's one person that's going to hear this that's going to go, fuck those guys. And his
We are
name is
Hayden.
We Are Hayden, and we love you, Hayden. But Sony did produce they did pay the bill. So, yes,
They footed the bill for
they're
Homecoming.
not lying.
and Far From Home.
And I'm going to eat crow on that because I texted him immediately and said, the Morbius trailer was good, but I don't like the 2 lies at the beginning of it.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. Eric and I spent a lot of time on our PlayStations episode
Yes.
saying that Jared Leto sucks.
Yes.
Larghetto.
Larghetto blows. So I have to, as an individual now, after seeing the trailer and thinking, well, that doesn't look just terrible, I have to eat crow because
looks good.
I actually said this was going to be terrible, and now I'm kind of like, it'll probably only be awful.
Oh, come on. It's not Star Wars, Adam. Kylo Ren's not in it.
Don't even get me started
you,
on that.
You break
but
down the trailer, and it really doesn't look like it's bad.
They did a good job of making him look thin and
Yeah.
just emaciated at the beginning of it, and then when he's buff and he's sexy, you're like, that's
keep
the
your fucking-
Larghetto I know.
Keep your fucking shirt on, Joker.
Keep your Joker makeup out of here.
Hey, well, at least he didn't have any tattoos on his stomach
It's true.
or his face.
Oh, he needed like a big Batman for life across, but right above his belly button.
That would have been epic. Now, doesn't he use his hands as his vampiric thing though? He sucks shit out of people with his hands.
I don't know dick about Morbius. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
What the
No
fuck
idea.
are you? What?
I got to say that when I was a kid, he was my least favorite. Adam knows this. I've always had a beef with Morbius.
And what's the beef? It's not like that. It's not like the little dog that lived down the street.
There was a
from you.
dog that lived down the street from me named Randy, and I have
His name was
Wait,
not
the dog's
fucking-
name was Randy.
the dog's name was Randy. Yes, it
No,
was.
it
Fuck
wasn't.
you. It was
That's
Randy.
amazing.
Okay,
The dog's name was Randy, and I had beef with him.
that does locate us firmly in Western Kentucky. That
Yeah.
a dog was named Randy.
The dog's name was fucking Randy.
Did it have a mullet and a fucking Camaro on cinder blocks?
Yeah, but and
Okay.
also a little meth problem.
Little can of Budweiser.
Yeah.
Just a little meth
Yeah,
problem.
well, Randy would chase after me when I was trying to go on
I
walks.
just can't believe anyone names a dog Randy.
Being honest, Randy would Randy would chase after me, and I had my headphones in, and I thought I could hear some yapping, and it was Randy nipping at my leg.
I remember you telling me you had beef with
I
it.
had beef with him because as a madman myself, I turned around and barked at him, and I know for a fact that the neighbors saw me barking at him.
That is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, sorry about that little segue there.
No, I
Get
like
over the dog being named Randy.
He had a wife beater on.
Mustard stain
Yeah.
on it.
Oh, that's amazing.
No, but the dog's name was Randy. You can doubt it all you want.
That's
but
amazing.
You know what's crazier than that? We live in a world where we're talking about a Morbius movie.
It's true, and I'm trying to
Damn,
think.
that's great,
So-
huh? Getting it back to Morbius.
So the one thing that really caught my attention was the drop of Adrian Toombs.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Vulture
what
right
the
at the
fuck?
end.
You're at the end of the trailer already.
Well, fuck, I don't remember it scene for
All right,
scene.
all right. So before we get to
Damn.
before we get to the Adrian Toombs thing,
Yeah.
first thing you start off with is they're talking and you get the song in the background. Do you remember what the song is?
Stuck in the middle with you.
No.
No.
It's Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven.
Thought I
Really?
was playing Castlevania for a minute.
No, you thought you were playing Resident Evil because that's the song that you have to play on the piano to get a little shelf to move to get one of the keys to go on to the game.
Damn, I hate you.
So it's the Moonlight Sonata, which moonlight vampires.
Ooh,
I
interesting.
didn't like the choice of music. Did you? Did you think that added something to the trailer?
Well, it was one of those things that just stuck out immediately to me that was the Moonlight Sonata and that was a vampire movie.
I feel like it's better
like
than
that.
like a Disturbed soundtrack or something.
Yeah.
Morbius.
Yeah, some dumb shit.
Or Jared Leto's band.
And then Jets take off.
Isn't he
and
in a band called Mars?
30 Seconds to Mars.
He's in a band called Suck.
Colin that works at our store, Infinite Collectibles, he likes 30 Seconds to Mars. Likes them.
He's
There's
also-
probably a major chance they suck.
He's also said that Jared Leto's his favorite Joker.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know. When I first met Colin, he came in the store. The argument we got in day one coming into my shop was that Leto was the best Joker, and I was like, "Oh man!"
But you don't like Joker at all, right?
So here we go. I'm not going to get off on this. I'm just going to say this: Joker's best stealing candy from babies, and it should go no further than that. He's not a global threat. He's not a universal threat, and I feel like his popularity as a villain is blown way out of proportion. But we'll just skip that for now.
That's another episode to come, and we'll get Colin on there.
Sure.
as we're kind of rolling through this Morbius trailer a little bit, he starts to kind of, like he does the stupid thing where he gets his hand out and he gets the Morbius power or whatever it is.
Right, like the trailer shows you that he's absolutely going to be healed from his frail form. Of
course.
And I mean, it's like you guys just
Immediately.
took all the suspense out of all of it.
Wait, does anyone know he's not going to be healed?
No, I'm just saying they just took all the the beginning of the trailer is trying to build suspense of look at this sick guy and what's he
Yeah.
going to do, and then it just shows you.
Exactly what he does to fix everything.
Look at this sick guy that looks better than all of you who are healthy.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
And then somehow,
That's fair. He's
Somehow,
definitely got a better hairline than me.
Yeah.
whenever he gains his vampire powers, he becomes Nightcrawler.
Wow.
I like
He
it.
starts like bamfing around.
Purple, too.
Yeah.
Minus the facial tattoos.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Here's a fear I got about the movie. You come up on that
Oh, we're
scene-
jumping to the end now. I see. It's cool when it's anyone else but me. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump there.
Okay, well, let me back up. You're right.
It's cool when it's anyone but me.
It's cool. It's not movie quality. You're right. But I thought it was next that we see him.
I mean, it's
turn
like
around.
it's like a 72-minute trailer, so that it's basically the whole movie rolls right there.
Absolutely.
I think it's 3 minutes.
I'm pretty sure that it just showed us the entire story of the whole movie.
Well, like-
He knows what's next, Munch does.
As you're rolling through, once you get Nightcrawler's powers out of the way,
Yeah.
he starts talking about his increased strength and speed, the ability to use
Yeah, it's
echolocation.
it's like him in a lab, and he's
Yeah.
testing out his new
the
abilities,
echolocation
and the fact that he has to eat people now.
consume blood. Yeah, his bloodlust.
Now I know he has an aversion to that,
Yeah, for the most part.
Unless
Doesn't
they're
really
bad.
want to have to eat somebody.
unless they're bad.
Unless they're bad.
Which I understand that. I actually always thought that was interesting about the character, that he decided that he was going to consume bad people. He wasn't going to just feed
He's
them.
the prototype for Dexter.
Ooh, interesting.
It's a good show. Have you ever seen that?
I have. I like
It's a good
it.
show.
Thought that guy would be a good Daredevil. Weird hair.
I
Got-
really,
I mean, he is a natural redhead, which
I really like Charlie Cox though.
Charlie
Cox
great.
is cool.
Yeah.
One of the best castings Marvel's done.
No, every casting Marvel's done's been pretty good. Only one I'm worried about is
Jared Leto.
big.
That's not Marvel.
That's not Marvel.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie in the Eternals. That's the only
Yeah,
one that scares
that
me.
concerns me.
But I think she's supposed to just be a nobody. So
No, she's like the father, or they've changed.
she's
it
like
from
the Odin from
they-
Asgard.
She's the mother of the Eternals. Yeah,
Which, I mean, how much Anthony Hopkins screen time was there in all the Thor movies?
not enough.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just like, who gives a
I got
shit?
you. Hopefully they'll relegate her. I think this has to be a Maleficent contract that gets her
yeah.
into this movie
yeah.
or something, because I can remember in 08 or 9 or 10 when it became obvious that they're actually building this universe. I can remember thinking to myself, well, at least they don't have an Angelina Jolie in any of these. And then,
I thought that too.
damn,
Here we go.
Brad
it is.
Pitt, Angelina, really where
I would
it's-
take Brad Pitt.
Where it becomes creatively bankrupt is Will Smith.
I agree. Do you know
Ben
that-
Affleck.
Did you guys see the news story? I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. Will Smith has admitted that he does not watch his own movies.
Good.
I believe
mean,
that.
It makes sense because if he watched them, he'd know they were trash and
Yeah.
he'd quit doing it.
A fighter that watches his own fights gets better.
Someone
Will
else-
Smith has not taken that advice.
Someone else that doesn't watch their own shit is Gwyneth Paltrow, who has on numerous occasions not remembered that she's in Homecoming.
Yep.
Yeah, and she has a vagina scented candle.
That's true.
That's the news this week.
She's been putting out a
way
candle
more
that smells
popular
like
than the
her.
Morbius news is she has a candle out that is supposed to smell like her vagina.
I don't know how to get into this topic without just being horribly offensive, so I'm just going to leave it right. I'm just going to, I mean, even though you lobbed it up there like a soft pitch, we're just going to leave that
Well,
alone.
I got away. Her vagina must smell like a vampire.
Wow. I don't even,
I don't know. That might have to come out.
no, that's not that, no.
So she was in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
She doesn't know.
Morbius, as we're going through this trailer, the next part that you see as he's walking like past a stone wall is the Spider-Man.
Now, why is it
poster.
Raimi Spider-Man?
Oh,
Well,
there's a
that's-
lot about that.
There's a lot of fan theory on that it might not be Raimi. I mean, it kind of is that suit, but they did that same photo with a promo for the Spider-Man video game on PS4. Same pose, same photo whenever the Raimi suit was getting put into it for DLC.
Eric dropped that 411
So are
on
you
me.
saying that that's like so this is a real world movie that has,
Well, I mean, it was either rumored that it's possible that Sony, who is producing this
Sure.
picture,
Yeah.
is trying to push that game a little bit further than it should have gone by now. It's also been posited that this is possibly just a placeholder for something that could be plot specific that they were trying to cover up.
okay. Well, you know, it does say murderer across it,
which seems to tie it to Far From Home.
which immediately made me think, what? Only a Morbius movie would dare call Spider-Man a murderer when it's absolutely going to be about a murderer.
No, but
Well, I mean,
but that ties to Far From Home.
Because at the end,
I guess it does.
in the post-credit screens, whenever Mysterio comes on and he's like, "Spider-Man killed me."
Yeah. And
That's
then
true.
J. Jonah Jameson's like, he's a murderer.
Damn it, I didn't even think
Damn,
about
Adam,
that.
I just dropped that on your head, me and
Yeah,
Munch.
you did.
I've just seen that
be fair,
anvil
I-
hit your head.
To be fair, I watched a YouTube video that said all that shit.
Man,
so
I caught that. I caught that in the trailer.
Before we get to the end part of it, the thing that bothers me, or not bothers me, but worries me the most about this is the ties to the MCU. I don't think it's wise. I don't think it's wise. Now, maybe they'll prove me wrong, and that's totally awesome if they do, but I do not believe it wise to let Sony play in that sandbox.
fair.
How do you feel about it, Big
I
Bunch?
mean, I think that's completely fair because I mean, Sony does own the rights to of all the characters, and good on Sony for letting Marvel use Spider-Man. Good on Sony if they want to let Marvel use Morbius, but I don't think it should go much farther than that. Like I think really, I mean, like we were getting Spider-Man. That's all we really wanted. We didn't really give a shit about all of the rest of these characters. You know, I mean, like, great having Venom come into the MCU, cool having, Adrian Toomes come into the MCU, but really, like, how much of that do we need? We need Spider-Man. Do we really need everybody else?
Well,
I feel like Spider-Man is propped up by his awesome
Yeah.
rogues gallery, though.
I agree with Alex. That rogues gallery is part of what makes Spider-Man so great.
Almost all of the rogues gallery, to a point I disagree with Sony, could be tent poles of their own.
And we've seen Vulture and Mysterio.
Well, what I'm saying is, here they are going with Morbius as a solo movie, and obviously Venom. I know they're working on Craven.
Well, my whole point is if they pulled Spider-Man into the MCU, like, completely away
Like
from
forever.
Sony, pulled him into the MCU.
Without his villains.
No, the only two that they would have to leave behind would have been Mysterio and
Oh,
Vulture.
you're saying the only two that have been used. Well, Vulture exists in Marvel's version of Spider-Man. So that's where this trailer tells you they are going to work together. Because Homecoming happened in the MCU, I feel like they're saying that Vulture is an MCU character, and that's why it was so big to see Keaton at the end of the trailer.
That's why it was so big.
Because that's a major deal.
Eric, when he said if Marvel could just take Spider-Man from Sony completely, my boner hit the table. I'm gonna have to edit out the sound effects because that would be the best thing that could ever happen.
No, I mean, my only point in saying that is that if they had to leave behind stuff to get him back,
Just to get him back.
all they're leaving
Just
behind
a
is
fresh
Mysterio
start.
and Vulture.
Well,
Gotcha.
you still got the Goblin.
And
both
Mysterio's
Goblins.
dead.
Yeah.
it's very weird to me to imagine a coexisting universe, and this is what we've kind of had in a weird way with Venom. And I don't want I don't want Morbius to take up that same area that Venom is in, where it's like people that don't really stay on top of the news think that Venom happened in the MCU anyway, and it's hard to explain to them that that's not actually a part of Marvel's narrative. And so for more films to occupy that weird gray spot, I think is bad. I think it's bad overall. I think it'll lead to the demise of this whole entire idea that they have. And so then again, bringing Morbius into the fold allows another company with its own values and goals in mind to come in and then tear down different aspects of what's already been put in place. And I just don't see how Disney's Disney Marvel is they have their ideas. They hold them close to their chest. They have a tight grip on what happens. And I feel like letting Sony play in there is going to not only lead to conflict of interest, because obviously Sony and Disney are not going to have the same interests, but it's also going to lead to Star Wars type holes and everything.
Oh, yeah. So essentially, I mean, what you're getting at is that by letting Sony mess with this and come into their universe, their ideas are going to affect our world.
Thank you for saying it better than me. And yeah, that is what I'm saying.
So
overall.
if they make a shitty movie and it's tied into our world,
Then there
we
it
just
is.
got a shitty
And
movie
you just
in,
go,
in our sandbox.
Yeah, and it's fuck. I mean, you can consider a litter box and then the Marvel Disney cat's just pissing in it, but then Sony comes in and drops a turd in it, and it's like, well, fuck, there went the litter. We
I
got
think
to
they
throw it
already
out.
did. I mean, Venom.
Yeah,
Venom's
well,
in that box,
but it's
isn't
not. It's not in that universe.
it? It's like off in the corner.
I gotta say,
Yeah, it's like a cat digging on the wall to cover it up, and he's not making any headway.
I gotta say, I'm only okay with it if it's Marvel that benefits from it.
Right, and
If Morbius can show up in Blade or at the end of
and that-
Blade,
cool.
then
that could very be well what happens.
then that's cool to me.
Yes, and so we'll have to kind of wait to see how
I
this
feel like
unfolds.
they wouldn't have made some of these deals, and that obviously there's things going on behind the curtain that they're not telling us.
Sure, this
they're-
has to be a part of their new deal.
They're not ready to tell us, right? But they were working on Spider-Man coming over to MCU in 2014.
Yeah,
I mean, there's things going on right now that we don't know. With Marvel pushing the envelope with Blade and Eternals
And Damian Hellstrom
and
TV
Moon Knight
and-
and Ghost Rider, they're getting to the Bronze Age era of their characters.
yeah,
And
they're getting towards that horror theme.
And I feel like there's some things we don't know that have been confirmed, but this trailer starts some of that right there, and that's why they just kind of let us see, hey man, you know, that's the MCU's version of Vulture in this Sony movie, and maybe just maybe they made it work, you know, and it's gonna work, and everything will be cool, and Spider-Man can show up and do this, or Spider-Man can have his adventures in the MCU, and they can use him over here too, just like the comics. It does, you know. There's 20 billion Spider-Man appearances a month.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I do feel like at some point that could hurt it. But as long as the team, you know, there's good teams at Sony. I just feel like the suits don't get it. But I feel like they've started to realize that this is a delicate thing because the hatred they got, even though they were in the right as far as legalities, but the hatred that they got when the Spider-Man deal fell through already, it didn't matter that Disney was actually wrong, but it didn't matter that Sony was actually right. I don't care who's right or wrong. I just care who owns Spider-Man and who's going to treat him the best.
I agree with that.
And it's, as long as Marvel swings their weight around, I feel, and I know that sounds bad because I'm not really a team player for Disney, but they are very powerful. And as long as Marvel's making good films, I feel like they could kind of coach the Sony films into greatness. I hope that's my hope.
And that's a reasonable hope. And you know, I have to say too that I'm not really a Disney fan. It's just,
me neither.
it's just that Marvel.
And I'm not against Sony, but they make stupid decisions with my characters.
I mean, Sony does good things. I don't mean that.
PlayStation's terrible. I'm
But
kidding.
I just mean that I just worry that you get too many cooks in the kitchen, they're going to spoil it.
I do too, and that's what I feel like. Disney Marvel has been really smart to let there be a figurehead, and as long as Sony can go, all right, Mr. Feige, does this work into your plan? If it works into your plan, can we do X or O? You know what I mean?
And that'll be the telltale.
And it seems like already they're saying, hey, this could fit with such and such, because you know Marvel's way ahead. They're like working on Blade. There's going to be Dracula. He has to show up at some point.
Now, how do the rights to Dracula work, I wonder?
I don't know, but they're already talking about it. Werewolf by Night is rumored for a TV show. Moon Knight has a TV show who can also show up in films.
Damien Hellstrom?
Damien Hellstrom, Blade, major player. Morbius slots right into all that.
Well, with all that being said, like I think, I mean, you've got Hellstrom, you got Morbius, you got Blade, you got Moon Knight, you got Ghost Rider, Midnight Suns.
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
I've been reading that for years.
God, that'd be
it's
fucking
rumors,
awesome.
not the actual comic.
I mean, that
Rumors.
absolutely has to be where they're headed.
I think somebody showed that Marvel has already done something like a copyright or a website address or something for Midnight Suns.
God, that'd be amazing.
Having said that, there's also the team of the Legion of Monsters, which is Ghost Rider, our classic Ghost Rider, Werewolf by Night, and Morbius and Man Thing. Mm-hmm. Man Thing's the only one not getting any love right now.
Yeah.
I love when my Man Thing gets love. But what I'm saying is that the possibilities are endless.
Well, now, how do you feel? Because this is recently in the news as well. You know, Doctor Strange 2's director quit because ever since he said it, that Doctor Strange into the Madness of the Multiverse was going to be a horror movie, Feige has done nothing but walk that back.
I don't like that.
I do, because it doesn't need to be a horror movie.
It
But
absolutely does not.
no, it absolutely doesn't. But those characters that you just named, the Midnight Suns, those are horror characters. Like Doctor Strange is not.
I feel like Doctor Strange is borderline horror. If I was
I think
going
if
through some of the stuff that he
Depending
saw,
on how he's used, I mean, he's more mystic than horror.
yeah,
I
you get into
honestly-
the supernatural realm.
I don't feel like, and I know I've already said this on this show, maybe I'll just edit this out, but I don't feel like Marvel needs to tread a ground with their main movie characters that they're absolutely going to be using in future movies. They don't need to get into an arena where children don't go to see this movie because it's horror. They don't.
I don't know.
They don't need to get there, because then you've just killed the reason this all exists.
I don't think that's what they meant by horror. I
No,
think they
and that's what I mean
it's,
by-
it's scary because the concepts of time and reality.
If
And,
Feige has been walking back that horror statement by saying just what you just said. Well, Goonies has horror in it. That's
I mean,
that's kind of,
Infinity War is nightmarish if it was real.
Gremlins had horror in it.
Right.
That's kind of the walk back of the horror statement. But
Yeah.
having said that, these characters you're talking about, Damien Hellstrom, is the son of Satan. Ghost Rider, even Morbius.
There's
is
even
a
talk of
vampire. Blade.
Mephisto
Sure.
being the villain.
Headed that direction, though, that is a horror direction.
Yeah, and that's also another point I wrote down. This you had your MCU, DCEU characters. They're all Gold and Silver Age characters. I mean, but we are in the fucking 70s Bronze Age, baby. Eternals is the headliner. I mean, Eternals. I mean, I would throw Guardians of the Galaxy in there too, just to be honest. I know they're late bloomers of the Silver Age, but damn.
Yeah, I believe. I mean, it's not unprecedented. Like, they've already done Defenders, and Defenders had one Silver Age character, and the rest, two were bronze, and then one was completely modern.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. And I mean, Punisher is a fucking Bronze Age
He's Bronze
character.
Age, yeah.
Jessica Jones is a modern age, but Luke Cage, I mean,
Iron Fist, they're both bronze.
yeah, I mean, it's all bronze. Everything's bronze.
Well,
and I think it's awesome too.
That also leaves the door wide open for if they want to redo the Defenders. There's been so many different team ups of Defenders that they could have just wrote that off and went on with a different team up.
I'm not happy till I see Beast.
I would love to see the classic Defenders.
Right? I mean, what was it? Hulk, Strange, Surfer, and fuck, who was the last one?
Fuck.
I want to say Submariner.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think you're
Yeah,
right.
I
that's
think
right.
I'm right.
I mean,
more.
and then because I mean, arguably, no one needs a team when you have Silver Surfer, but
I've always thought that. I think that about Thor too.
I mean,
you could kill all the Avengers.
There was an iteration of the Defenders that had Colossus and She-Hulk on it
yeah. Oh well, I think that was the new Defenders, right?
with the blazing skull, not the Ghost Rider.
the
I
blazing.
mean, Doctor Strange and the Silver Surfer. You talk about overpowered.
And the Hulk.
Hulk and
Oh
Namor.
yeah, I know.
Hulk and Namor?
Hey man, somebody call the Avengers. Oh fuck the Avengers.
Fuck
Let's
the
get
Avengers.
the Defenders
Called
in
the
here.
Defenders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call one of the Defenders.
Just-
Yeah, any one of them will work.
yeah.
Does anyone have Surfer's cell number?
yeah.
Any problem we have?
Norrin Red. Look it up.
Okay, yeah.
You know what's cool though is
under wraps.
in the comic books when they were in that era before we're coming out of Silver Age, there was a ban on vampires and monsters, supernatural monsters, and it was only in 71 actually when 101 came out, Amazing Spider-Man 101, that they lifted the ban because of all the controversy of kids reading comics and how the horror genre rots their brains and makes them want to kill people or whatever. Similar to
Interesting.
what people say about video games today. But at that time...
Seduction of the Innocent.
Yeah, that's the book, Seduction of the Innocent. The guy proposed comic books be completely banned. People were burning them. It was crazy. You know, it's before video games and cable TV, before cell phones and all this. You know, so it was a major deal. So it's cool that Marvel pushed to have vampires and monsters back, and it feels like we're that in the movies.
And I feel like that's why he wasn't a vampire.
Speaking of that, when did Marvel's zombie come out.
Oh, that's in the 2000s.
But no, I'm not talking about Marvel Zombies.
You just mean
Oh,
zombie.
zombie.
The character
I
zombie.
believe in
that's
the
Bronze
70s
Age.
is
That's
too.
bronze.
Okay.
All that stuff is bronze.
Yeah, they really got into the weird shit, like Alex has already said, Man Thing and Howard the Duck and all that shit. That's all.
And that was
And
because
Zombie was right around that time.
yeah, it is. And that was because of the Comics Code Authority having less strict guidelines.
Well, Stan Lee had told them to go fuck themselves with Amazing 96, 97, and 98.
is that the numbers?
I think, yeah.
Is that the ones that don't have the little comic code?
They don't have it on it, and he was the first person to, as much shit as anyone wants to talk about Stan said that censorship doesn't belong in this industry. He wanted to tell a story about drug addiction, and they told him he couldn't, and he did it anyway,
I like that.
without the Comics Code approval.
And then got contacted by the White House.
It might be 97, 98, and 99, but I know it's right. It's before 100.
You
Long
might
live
be
Stan
right.
the Man.
Then the White House gave him an award for exemplary storytelling.
Yeah, because the story he told, Harry's addicted to like painkillers, and
He becomes a vampire.
and it's not shown in a positive light, drug addiction.
He
or
becomes a
anything,
hematologist.
and he gets a bat to bite him on the fucking dick, and he's Laird Jetto.
Laird Jetto.
Well, one thing I think's cool about Morbius, and I saw some news articles picking on it, but I think it's cool that you got a monster who is more science-based than supernatural.
That's interesting.
I think that's cool, and I think that's comic booky, and I feel like there's only I don't feel like the mainstream audience will think that's as cool as I do, but I feel like the people that they need to have go see this film on opening weekend, that was specified definitely for me and guys like us.
I feel like the reason Marvel did that in the 70s was to do exactly what you said, to skirt that ban,
Oh yeah, it's cool.
and that it's absolutely become an important part of Morbius,
Yeah.
is that he's not a classic vampire.
And Morbius, I want to say though, that's fucked up that that's his name.
Michael
Michael
Morbius?
Morbius.
You're right.
He's from Greece, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Isn't Dr. Morbius the villain in Forbidden Planet?
Oh, yes.
So there you go.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I always just think of the island of Dr. Moreau.
Man, that's a fucking weird ass everything.
Never seen that.
It's good.
I've never seen it.
It's about animal men experiments, though.
So if you're a customer of ours and you're wanting to buy investment books, Amazing Spider-Man 101 is the first appearance of Morbius.
Yeah, that's a great
You
one.
can also go with Vampire Tales #1. It's magazine sized. It's his first solo story. Right now in the shop we have Marvel Team Up 3, which is his first story outside of Spider-Man, even though he fights Spider-Man.
It's still a Spider-Man. Marvel Team Up is a Spider-Man book.
It is his third appearance. Spider-Man 102, the Lizard and Spider-Man continue their fight
With Morbius, yeah.
And so there you go. There you have it. And if you're looking for Legion of Monsters, it's Marvel Premiere 28.
Sweet.
And we have had all those.
Awesome. I hope that Sony's able to prove me wrong about their involvement in
Prove me
MCU.
wrong, Sony.
But they're going to have to prove me wrong. They're going to be guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, I feel that way with Sony. I was like, they'll fucking ruin Spider-Verse, and it was great.
Spider-Verse was great.
Spider-Verse is
And
really fucking
here's what it comes down to. When I was a kid, I was like, all fucking DC comics are terrible. Truth be told, if there's a good team on it, anything can be good.
Oh, yeah.
Except for Hawkeye.
In my old age, that's not true.
It is true.
But in my old age, I've become a creator chaser. I no longer worry about too much who the character is.
Yeah.
There is all that shit that can muddy up the waters as far as who's using who and what's what. But if they got the right team on Morbius, this could be the greatest fucking movie ever.
See, I'm both ways. Like, I'll read any Ghost Rider story. Doesn't matter who's writing it, who's drawing it. But then there are certain guys, like I've said before on the episode,
Like Jason Aaron.
Like Jason Aaron. If Jason Aaron's, writing something, I want to check it out. If Jonathan Hickman is writing something, I want to check it out. If John Cassidy's drawing something, I want to check it out.
I'm getting there with Donny Cates. I'm
fucking
serious.
A.
Read the side of a shithouse bathroom. Donny Cates wrote it.
Warning, spoilers ahead.
Spoiler alert, motherfucker.
I'm not doing one.
Oh, man.
I don't got one, man.
Was waiting for you.
I can't. I don't know what to do.
We waited for you, Eric.
I'm sorry.
We waited for you all day.
Just leave me behind.
Leave me behind. What the fuck? is this voice he does.
It's a character that I come up with a few years ago.
I don't know. He did that whenever we did that one episode. With, "That shit, motherfucker."
Yeah, he did.
I feel like that's how Pokemon talk. No.
That's
how I feel.
They don't. All they say is their name.
What? Yeah. Bilbo Flank.
That's fair.
That is the
let's-
sound of Bilbo Flank.
Let's get to this shit.
Thor, the motherfucking God of Thunder. God.
So if I think back to just a couple episodes ago when I was interviewing you, Alex, on the phone, I remember we got into talking about Donny Cates, and we were and I remember bringing up, or at least, if I didn't bring it up, I at least said it, that I was not sure about this costume that was coming up.
You did say that.
And I'll be, I'm sorry,
Fucking hate you.
and I'll be damned if I don't have to eat crow on that.
The tiara's fucked up.
You know, I
Gotta
thought
be
it was
honest.
fucked up because I was seeing it out of context.
Yeah, you saw it out of context.
That whole cover of that issue is out of context.
Absolutely.
Munch just read it today.
I did.
I read it 2 days ago.
I've read it 3 times.
So we're talking about Thor #1,
We're talking about Thor 1 by Donny Cates.
and it's great. It's epic.
I mean, the name of it is The Black Winter.
Here's what I want to
The
say.
Star Plague.
The Star Plague is a great death metal band's name, and their first record, The Black Winter.
I mean, yeah.
We are fucking Star Plague. This is our new song, Black Winter. Right?
Please don't do that again.
Sorry about that. Eric has burped and farted and snorted
You know,
and coughed.
The Star Wars episode is filled with Eric burping.
I know, and I thought I
coughing.
heard you trying to edit it out.
tried.
And there's like just little bits of, just the very end of it.
What happens is he'll
Smoke
do it.
another one.
He does it while we're talking, and so you can't get it
You
out.
can't
of
get
there.
it out. Yeah. And then we need
Trying
to
to make sure it's going to stay.
Yeah.
Work it in, juicy little tidbits.
We know. Here he goes again.
That's just
It usually follows a laugh.
frog in my throat.
The
thing.
Black Winter's in your throat.
Yeah. Got a little tickle.
Oh, Nubs himself, Galactus.
I mean, it starts out with like a really cool scene where you essentially get Mjolnir flying through every realm with the Bifrost behind it, talking to everybody about like we're done with the war, all of this death bullshit's over with.
Yeah, done with the War of the Realms.
Yeah, and then fucking the hammer just drops right through the back of a monster's face.
Yeah.
In New York City.
Goes through all the realms
I
All
wanted,
10.
to end on Midgard.
I wanted to ask a question. The panel shows Iron Man Tony Stark. Mm-hmm. Is that happening? Is he around?
You mean, is it referencing Iron Man 2020? No, it's not.
I was like, that's fucked up.
Oh, well, you just get that's the Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, Thor's lives are broken into
That's a good point, though, huh?
the young Thor, Thor the Avenger,
Than God Thor.
King Thor.
So whenever that thing goes through the back of that monster's face,
You mean whatever a Mjolnir?
yes,
When that thing that Thor throws,
That thing he chucks.
Tony Stark like picks it up and writes on it.
I don't think he picks it up now.
Well, he didn't, but maybe Cap did.
how did he write on it?
Well played. With a Sharpie.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know that much.
Well, you know, he used the phonetic alphabet and wrote letters.
Fuck you. I thought he picked it up, too.
No, he couldn't have picked
Well,
it up.
Cap might have picked it up and let Tony
Yeah.
write on it.
Thor just called it back. Maybe he...
Yeah, but Cap could pick it up the whole time then. That's fine.
No, I don't think so.
Well, then he would have had to write upside down to write the way that it was portrayed. In the
You just
picture
better
whenever
accept
Thor
that
looks
that's
at
what
it.
happened.
That's a good point. You'd have to write it upside down.
Do you feel like that's
lay
beyond-
down and
Yeah.
fucking...
Do you feel like that's beyond Stark to write
No.
something upside
No,
down?
no,
it's
it's
not.
writing character. And I did appreciate it.
I did
Enjoy your
think-
retirement.
I did think it was funny that it said "nice shot, enjoy your retirement."
Yeah, because then he calls it
Back.
and then he sees it.
What a cool opening to a comic book.
It was great.
Yeah, it was really good.
And then that also gave us the reveal of Sif. It was actually revealed in King Thor before it, but Sif is in Heimdall's place. She's guarding the Bifrost.
She looks cool with those eyes, even sexier with her eyes like that.
Oh, Sif's a bad motherfucker.
She is.
oh yeah,
But anyway, it kind of jumps right into Thor's first day as king.
Which he's really dreading.
He has repurposed Asgard to more better fit his image. He's got rid of the golden throne. He has a wooden throne, and it has the Norse symbol for thorns, which is kind of his symbol.
Thurin says.
Yeah, there you go. And you know, yeah, you really see how much he really doesn't want to be king.
Oh yeah.
He's an adventurer,
And then Loki talks shit to him.
which is awesome.
Talks about Mjolnir being heavier than normal.
Oh, I thought that
like
was
it just getting
fucking cool.
heavier
And
and
it showed-
heavier and heavier.
That's what was cool.
He made
because-
the sound when he picked it up.
because
He
it
grunted.
seems not out of context, but just right then Loki's like, "Is it heavier?" And he's like, "You fucking piece of
yeah,
shit."
he essentially tells him to shut up, but then
Yeah.
like later on goes to go. Well, he was right. Mjolnir's getting heavier
I
and
like
heavier
that.
by
It's
the
interesting.
day.
I like that narrative that Mjolnir's heavier. Not that he can't pick it up, but it's getting harder to pick it up.
I love, and Jason Aaron did it really well, and he does it in his Avengers run, even of Thor checking every day to make sure he can pick it up. Like that's the way he starts his day every day.
That's cool.
And I think that maybe that comes from that at the point where he wasn't worthy, he still wants to make sure every day that
Every
he still
day,
is.
make sure he's worthy.
But I wonder if that's why it's getting heavier because maybe he's getting less and less worthy.
Well, maybe by him becoming king, he's
He's less worthy. Kings are always bad,
Because you'll notice though, Odin never picked that motherfucker up.
no,
but Odin could pick it up.
Well, we think he could.
Well, no,
Yeah, he never tries.
Odin picked it up. I've seen him do it in the Beta Ray Bill saga.
Anyway, Thor is not enjoying his first day as king, and he's about to make a royal address.
He notices snow.
He sees it snowing, and you see the horror roll over his face before he turns, and it gives us this beautiful splash page. I have to say, art in this book's gorgeous.
it is really good.
Sound effect, krakoom.
Yeah, of just
Which I like.
Galactus falling armless right into the center of Asgard, and Thor's immediate reaction is not, "Oh, I hope you're all right." It's, "Fuck
How
you!
dare you.
How dare you
come to Asgard?
Come to Asgard, you motherfucker!"
Now, I thought it took a cool turn because Thor immediately rushes over there to pound that ass as if he could. Right?
He would try.
He would try. I respect that. Having said that, it's cool because Galactus is like, "Hey, man, I came here for help."
I came here for help. I came here because I've seen something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says the Star Plague, which, like we said earlier, is badass. It doesn't matter what that is. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
There's a Star Trek villain. If it's a porn, it doesn't matter. It's a cool fucking title.
It'd be a weird porn title.
That'd be a badass porn. Fucking nubby ass Galactus.
Starfish
doing
plague.
shit. Yeah.
The Star Plague. I don't know what.
Fish plague.
I don't know. What kind of,
God. What's the Dairy Queen star?
What?
What's the star?
The Star Pop?
Star Pop plague.
Yeah.
That'd be a badass plague. Anyways, but I thought it was cool that he says the Star Plague.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. Yeah.
Because we know that Galactus was Galen of Ta, and he escaped a universe that died. They do show the toll that Galactus falling on Asgard takes.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fucking
I thought
leveled.
that was cool
Counting-
because a lot of comics just kind of pass over the casualties.
Counting the thousands that died.
And
from-
Thor's starting on his first day really bad.
Yeah,
It's
his
really
first
bad.
day starts off really, really awful. Galactus tells him of this impending doom, and then he convenes a meeting of the previous
of the ones he
former
can find.
the former heralds of Galactus.
Yeah, he sends his ravens to find him.
It's bad as
Bring 'em
fuck.
back.
I do have to say, of course, fucking Cosmic Ghost Rider's there.
Of course.
Yeah, that seems to fuck up the timeline a little bit. Cosmic Ghost Rider is way off in the future from there. That's Frank Castle, and Frank Castle exists in Thor's timeline.
Well, maybe you have to think that that's like
Maybe
it's
it
in
is
the future.
Maybe it is the future.
He's just finding every herald that he can find.
Wait,
Of
no.
all timelines.
Wait, well, yeah, you're right.
No, that's Frank Castle, man. That doesn't make any
You're right.
sense. I
It
thought
is-
that as soon as I saw it. Having said that, it's about cosmic people who. It doesn't matter. It's like Star Wars points. It
Well,
doesn't
they've all been heralds of Galactus.
But
That's
maybe,
the-
like Eric says, it's a non-linear thing. Maybe he could contact. But then you'd think, as Marvel Universe lives forever, then there'd be more
well,
heralds.
so Surfer shows up still with the affliction that from Surfer Black from Annihilation Scourge. He's intangible. He just steps through a wall. He's not actually callable by ravens because he's not a corporeal being.
And he is chief amongst the heralds in everyone's
And
opinion.
he reveals 5 planets that he's always kept hidden from Galactus that will imbue him with more abilities, which is fucking awesome.
because we kind of skipped over that Galactus is dying and he needs to feed.
So he's seen the end of his.
He's
universe,
terrified, is what it is.
and he's seen what the end of ours is coming.
Yeah,
and he's scared.
And that's when they find out after Silver Surfer and all the Asgardians and Thor go to speak to him, and Surfer, they got the plan to feed him the new 5 planets. That Galactus reveals that no, he saw his fate, and Thor's the one that killed him.
And that's why I thought it was awesome that Thor immediately stepped to him
Yeah, I know.
as soon as he showed up.
Thor's trying.
But God Thor, however, in the story that just ended right before this, future Thor, King Thor, he outlives the Silver Surfer. He outlives Galactus. He outlives it all.
Maybe that could all be changed.
And possibly so. But this is representing the dawning of that era of him transitioning from Avenger Thor to King Thor, which is super cool.
I think so. It seems like Thor's hit this spot where he's kind of like Daredevil, which all 3 of us have followed for years, where you go on this like 10-year stretch where Daredevil's just like the best book going.
Well,
Oh yeah.
And then Thor, it's been how long? That
1 month previous, December, Jason Aaron ended a 100-issue, 7-year run.
I mean, that's a lot. We just said Stan Lee did 100 Amazing Spider-Mans. That's a bunch, man.
And every single Jason Aaron issue is fucking on point.
And you never heard anyone go, you know what, Thor's kind of falling off. I want to drop it.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? In fact, you hear, no, Thor sounds great. I want to get Thor.
Yeah. Why is it quitting? Why aren't it going on?
And that includes Lady Thor.
Yeah, I mean, he
Jane
did
Foster and all that.
He did the
stuff.
whole Jane thing. Well, that was while Thor was unworthy.
Yeah, fucking awesome, right?
Yeah.
Fucking great. I really just love Silver Surfer. We talked about that on the previous episode or 2 ago. I don't know. It is cool that Donny Cates, as we said on that episode, is bringing the symbiote thing in, and that's clearly what the Black Winter is.
Pretty sure that's what it's the coming of Null. I do love how when Galactus explains it to them, like what he's seen, he's like, when I was Galen of Ta, I didn't understand what I saw.
You saw it as a black
So I
gaping
saw it as a
hole.
gaping hole. Now I understand that what I'm seeing,
It's something coming.
with my experiences throughout the cosmos, I know what I'm seeing now.
Yeah.
This is death.
And this is what I love that Donny Cates is doing, is that he's done Absolute Carnage, he's done Silver Surfer Black, he's doing Venom, and they're all kind of culminating with this Null thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost kind of looks like that whenever they talk about Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life, dying. Whenever
black.
Yeah, whenever Volstagg
turning
walks
black.
up to it, he like got a little bit of it in his hand, and it almost looks like symbiote.
Yeah,
and
it does. You're
It
right.
looks like symbiote, yeah. Which is the coming of Null, which
Right.
is
Exactly.
just wow.
Venom number 4 or number 3?
3.
Venom number 3, written by Donny Cates. That's a hot fucking book right now.
And what's crazy is Jason Aaron is really who built the mythos that Donny Cates pulled all that from.
I really think it's an epic time for that, because for a while I felt as a fan that Marvel has the best characters, but there was some stagnation on creativity.
Especially for Dan Slott's million-year run on
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
well, Spider-Man, in my opinion, the audience may not know it, but Spider-Man's my favorite character. But because he's so marketable and has a commercial presence, he seems to get the worst of the worst because he will sell. Spider-Man will sell.
I don't agree with that because me and you have
Nick-
differing opinions on
Nick
that.
Spencer's good.
That's yeah.
It's just good though.
Nick
It's not great.
Spencer's-
Like it's nothing like this Thor
Well,
where
when-
people are going to talk about
Tell
it.
me, well,
No, nobody talks about.
but it's
it.
on issue 40 already. This is Thor 1.
Yeah, but nobody talks about Spider-Man because there's never anything interesting on it.
I think Marvel has a hard you can't fuck with this, and they don't have that with Thor.
I think that might need to be established. But what I'm saying is, Thor it seems to have wells of opportunity to be interesting.
I tell you what,
And I think that's because he's a cosmic character.
I'm also going to say, to your point, especially the way you just worded it, Thor's always been more peripheral, and I think now, since the movies, he's actually kind of become up front and center. I mean, Marvel's gone from having one big star to having
Tons.
several
Yeah,
big stars.
exactly. And I mean, I think Spider-Man has suffered from that. Having said that, this episode's not about Spider-Man.
Right.
I'm just saying that Thor and Daredevil and all these Iron Man, all these guys, they get these great teams on them.
Iron Man didn't. No. Not this last go around.
No, but in the last decade.
Yeah.
No.
Before his movie, he had great teams.
Exactly. It's been a decade, right? Yeah.
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 2008.
Well, it's been a little longer than a
Yeah,
decade.
it's a little longer.
But my point is that It's exciting that it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting that it is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to read number 2.
I know, right?
I don't feel
Well,
that way with Amazing
I
Spider-Man.
mean, we haven't got to the end yet, but
No, but I do love whenever you're kind of reading along in this, and they come up with a plan to feed the planets to Galactus. The next thing that you see is that like battalion of them walking out to where Galactus is at to let him know
what's going to
And-
happen?
And Surfer comes up and he's like, I can feel you in my head. You already know what we're
Yeah.
gonna do, don't you? And he's like, yup.
And he's like, I'm impressed, Surfer, that you hid these planets from me.
Yeah, and then he goes to tell the story about how he's seen his doom. He's seen his demise, and his demise has a name, and that name is Thor.
And when he blasts
And
him,
he stands up to blast him, and I was like, oh fuck, it's
Yep.
on.
Yep, that's what I thought. I thought, well, fuck, maybe he's trying to get ahead of this, and he's been fucking with everybody, making them think like, oh, I'm just here for asylum. I didn't really mean to fuck with you guys. And then
Yeah.
he stands up like, fuck Thor. He's gonna be the death of me. But he starts talking, and he tells him essentially like, okay, I need your help to go and deal with this plague, and then when we're done, we can have words.
I love that I will have words with the
Yeah.
mighty Thor.
That's pretty
Yeah.
bitchy.
Now, I'm a Galactus guy.
Me too.
I love fucking Galactus.
I've had many an argument about Galactus.
Yeah, Galactus is the shit. If you don't like him, turn this fucking podcast off. He's the
maybe,
shit.
maybe don't go that far.
Well, let's not turn it off.
Unsubscribe.
I mean, we talked about Morbius, so it's cool.
Unsubscribe. No, don't. Actually, don't. But anyways, Galactus is one of my favorite characters. Knowing Silver Surfer was in this book, I will read it as long as they're in it. I'm
Man.
not there still with other favorite characters.
Seriously, read Scourge.
I will have to. I haven't read it. But, I kind of lost that with Daredevil. At some point, it just got to be the same story over and over.
Yeah.
You know who's in it right now? Kingpin and Elektra. And I'm like, dude,
Bullseye.
we have to stop that, guys. We have to stop that.
Well, he's one of those that suffers from not having a great rogues
I know, but-
gallery. There's just not that many people.
And
It's-
it sucks.
It's Bullseye, Kingpin, Elektra, and Typhoid Mary.
Still,
Right.
man.
But it sucks
Still, man.
to that point that no one
The owl.
no one will create a new villain for him.
I do like Leland Owsley.
There's been villains created for Daredevil.
Yeah, but I mean, somebody that's going to create something really cool now in this modern age, they want to own it, and they're going to do that at Image.
Well, I mean, fucking Null was created in this modern age.
I think on accident.
I don't think so.
I mean, I think, well, Jason Aaron, and that's a great point. We actually made that point in the Image episode that we did. Jason Aaron, when he makes Null or all his Thor stuff, or
Actually, Jason Aaron didn't make Null, but he set the groundwork for Null.
or whatever it is, or Ed Brubaker when he does all his Captain America stuff, or Jonathan Hickman when he's done all his stuff. All these guys, Marvel allowed them to do big indie shit, so they get their creativity out over there on the shit that they own that they can make a ton of money on, and then they're happy, so they create cool shit for Marvel,
Yeah, and they have.
which is going to be mined and explored for years to come in animated films, video games, and movies. It's now podcasts. They even do podcasts on
yeah.
this shit.
Sure.
So that's what I'm saying about creatively. So I only say that to say that this issue of Thor, it gives me a happy feeling about the future, and it's a comic book that makes me feel like it's a comic book, and it takes me out of, oh, I'm just sitting in a comic book store reading it. It's everything about it's great.
The art by Nick Klien was beautiful. I never looked at the page and said, what the fuck's happening here? And the way Cates paces a story is just beautiful. It flows so well, and you can feel the suspense in everything that's going on. You can see the horror in Thor's eyes when Galactus falls, and you can see how mad he is when he jumps out at him. And I love that kind of like when he's king and he's a little bit fucked up, his nose is red. Mm-hmm. You know, you can tell he's been drinking.
Yeah, that's cool. Also, it's supposed to be cold,
Well,
right?
not until Galactus shows up and says winter's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I noticed in that scene his nose is red, but maybe that's because he's drinking.
I think he's been drinking.
Also, what's really cool is they do say in the back that Oliver Coipel will be doing the covers. But looking at the cover, which you guys can't look at, but you can if you Google it, the black on his costume is all space,
It's all stars.
which
yeah.
gives me a boner.
It's
That's
a star
all
field
space.
because all this has been said to lead us to the last panel of this book, where I absolutely have to eat my own words because I thought, oh, costume change, oh, it's bullshit. Well, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because what you begin to see whenever I thought Thor was being tortured or murdered or killed or hurt
By
or-
Galactus.
by Galactus. Whenever he's force pushing whatever the hell's into him, he turns over and you start to see him kind of curl up, and the brace on his arm disintegrates. His arm comes back, and the last page is that big splash page. Just a full page of what Thor, the Herald of Thunder.
The Herald of Thunder.
And he's
Listen,
got
listen.
the cosmic costume. It's fucking
There's
cool.
my boner hitting the table. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, I loved that.
That-
That was really cool.
Quite the reveal on that costume.
Now,
Got
aren't
two
you
eyes
excited
back.
to read the next one?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't wait.
Two eyes,
Damn.
2 arms. Maybe Mjolnir's not quite as heavy as it was 10
Probably
minutes ago.
not. Yeah.
2 eyes, 2 balls, and 2 arms.
He's got it all.
Oh, 2 ball.
Oh,
And a little
Tubo.
tiara.
What is the practical purpose of the tiara?
Obviously to keep this shit out of his eyes.
Fashion sense, baby.
Yeah. I kind of thought, and you guys are going to, I'm going to say something that it's going to be referenced in the future, I know. A little bit of a Super Saiyan vibe coming off of Thor there.
No,
He had his hair all up.
no, it wasn't spiky.
No, it wasn't spiked
No, it was-
out and ridiculous, but
just-
it was coming up.
It's just because he's
How
being.
can there be that many burps in a person?
I
Try
feel
to
like
get
his. I feel like his hair was sticking up because he's being imbued with cosmic energy.
Absolutely.
Imbued with the power cosmic.
I mean, you going back to the art thing that you were talking about, like the way that like energy is coming up off of Mjolnir is just cool as fuck.
It's awesome.
It is cool.
But I thought that was a great book. I highly recommend it to anyone out there, even remotely interested, maybe continuing what Cates was doing with Venom, what he did with Absolute Carnage. And if you enjoyed Jason Aaron's run on Thor, don't drop it now because it's still basically going.
We have copies still at Infinite Collectibles, and you can get all the past issues of The Mighty Thor and Journey into Mystery. We got it all, guys. Come see us down there.
All right, Eric. So I know that you are a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I actually just watched the Peter Jackson movies with my children over the holiday break. My kids loved it, and that just really got me going on it again. And then a little bit before that, Amazon Prime had announced that they had a show coming up set in the Lord of the Rings universe at this in the Second Age.
Yeah, they haven't really told us much about when in the Second Age, and after doing a little bit of research, you realize the Second Age is the longest documented age in Tolkien lore, and it's almost 4,000 years,
Holy shit!
which
Wow.
is insane.
That's a lot of ground to cover.
That's a lot of ground to cover. So them setting this in
So they
the
have
Second
4,000
Age-
seasons.
they have 4,000 seasons to make this work.
Amazon already put down 4,000 seasons worth of money up front.
Yeah, they did.
They did
My-
$260
basically.
million dollars
It's
I mean,
the most expensive
and it-
show of all time.
just
right?
for the rights.
That's just the right, not a production
That's
budget.
not the production. That's not the casting. That's not the locations, scene building. It's just to be able to get the
do
right
it.
to do it.
right.
And then that came with a have to do 4 or 5 seasons, right? 5.
They have to do 5 seasons. If that thing flops in season 1, they still got to put out 4
Yeah.
more.
Maybe it'll do good by the 5th one. Be
maybe.
like my business. By the 5th year, we're doing okay.
Well, we're still hoping.
Yeah, we're still open. You know, when I hear most expensive TV show of all time, I'm thinking they got Jerry Seinfeld and the cast of Friends going to look for onion rings with fucking George Costanza.
No, you know what? The most expensive that I can recall on memory. And it actually the reason they canceled the show because of it
Was Rome.
Rome on
And that's
HBO.
a
Right.
fucking phenomenal show.
What a badass show.
What a
so
shame.
good.
Hey,
What
Game
a-
of Thrones wasn't cheap though, right?
No,
I don't
Rome
think so.
was more expensive
Than that, yeah.
because they did everything on site. They built everything practical. The casting budget and so many extras and so much set building and crazy shit.
I
they had to
remember
do for
reading that each episode was the budget of a
movie.
blockbuster
Yeah,
movie.
I mean millions of dollars for each episode.
hundreds of millions.
Yeah,
What
just
I'm glad to
tons of
see
fucking
with
money.
this Lord of the Rings announcement is that fantasy is kind of having its time like the superheroes do.
Absolutely.
Like we had Rome and it's not fantasy, but
No.
then Game of Thrones was fucking it
You know what's-
replaced that, right?
You know what's fucking crazy is that I thought way back in 2000,
Yeah.
when the Lord of the Rings, when the Fellowship came out,
Yeah.
as an avid reader of Dragonlance novels and Forgotten Realms and shit like that, I thought
There'd be more.
Lord of the Rings is gonna blow this fucking genre wide the fuck open, and then it didn't happen.
No,
Yeah,
it was
it
like the
didn't
only
happen.
thing that came
It
out
didn't
of it.
fucking happen
Nothing's happened really
No.
since then.
until Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is nuts
it's
because-
still not near as cool as Lord of the Rings.
No, not even close. But I just can't imagine some executive somewhere not like hearing about Driss Duorden and Brunor Battlehammer and not wanting to make a show with that, but
Biv Rip.
it's never happened. Oh, Biv Rip, yeah, exactly. That little gnome in the Underdark.
Fucking love it.
I can't imagine that this hasn't been done, but it hasn't been. So anyway, though, we are getting something deeper. We are getting
It's cool.
the Second Age.
Yeah,
Hey.
so they don't really tell us where in the Second Age this is going to take place.
Obviously, there's a lot of span.
There's a lot of span. There's a lot of shit that happens. There's a lot of shit going on in that Second Age. But we have no idea where this is going to be, if it's going to be set right at the beginning. The Second Age starts with the destruction of Beleriand, and it moves forward from there. And you see a lot of different things like Sauron rising to power, the dwarves and the elves getting together, and Sauron tricking them into making the Rings of Power. Like, all kinds of crazy shit's going to happen. So where do we begin? Where does this show pick up?
That's interesting. So we touched on it briefly earlier, but not on the episode. Who is Sauron?
Well, you take a guy named Ron, and you fuck with him until he gets a little sour, and then you get sour Ron.
I was gonna say, man, that's a soured up Ron.
That's soured up Ron.
That's who he is.
Okay, you motherfucker. That's not even close to
This
what I meant.
piece of shit took my line. I've been saying that for years. Fucking bastard.
Vindication.
I was just about to say it too.
Vindicators.
That's right.
Yeah.
So essentially, Sauron is just like he's an elf that decides that while they're making all these rings of power, because they make, of course, 3 for the elves, 5 for the dwarves, and 9 for the men, that he has tricked the elves into making these, but he decides he's going to make one ring that will actually control all of the rest. The elves don't like that. They pull back. They hide their 3 rings away from his power. The dwarves essentially do the same thing. They end up, retreating into their caves and halls and trying to stay away from him and his controlling power. And the men don't realize what's happening.
Right, because that's the Nazgul.
They end up becoming the ring wraiths.
Yeah, I'm the 9 or the Nazgul.
So instead of 6 Infinity Stones, just 1 to rule them all.
1.
My man just threw that in there. 1 to rule them all. Right? Is that right though?
I mean, that's part of the line.
Fucking Thanos could have just had 1 stone.
I would never, ever, ever think that there's any way that Lord of the Rings did not have some bearing on Jim's.
Oh, Lord of the Rings
Starlin
is totally
creating
in the inspiration for
Infinity
that.
Stones.
Wouldn't you say?
Probably.
I would, definitely.
But there's not one stone that rules any other stone.
No, but just the idea.
No, but they're cool ideas.
They are cool ideas.
Yeah.
I've been in this mode since I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Whenever one of my
What year were you
teachers-
a freshman in high school?
In 2001.
I was just going to ask, what drew you to the Lord of the Rings first? Because since I've known you as an adult or not a little kid,
Yeah.
you've been into the Lord of the
So
Rings.
what it was one of our librarians there at the high school that I went to,
Reedland, right?
Reedland High School, decided that we had to do, of course, the AR stuff, where you read a book and you take a test and they give you points for that shit. You have to have so many points. Well, I was uninterested. Didn't want to fuck with it. So she recommends some of these other fantasy books. And when I start getting into those, I start figuring out, like, okay, well, these are kind of cool. What else do we got? And then AJ, AJ that's on the show all the time.
At a cuss word.
At a cuss word. He wants to see this movie. Never heard of it. I don't know what the hell it is. It's the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. We got to go. And I went with him to the theater to see it, having never read any of the books at all. We go to see it, and it was fucking awesome. I loved every minute of it. Mom fell asleep in the front of the theater.
That's right.
She's
Snored.
snoring.
You've told that story
I've told the
before.
story is amazing.
That's a good one.
So we saw that, and I was like, this is cool, man. I got to check this shit out. Well, I forgot about it. And we went the next year or two, the Two Towers
Next year.
The next year, the Two Towers comes out. And I'm like, oh shit, this is connected to that. Went and saw the Two Towers, and I fell in love. I went back and I actually read the stories in the complete backward opposite order because I wanted to know what was going to happen.
So you started with Return of the King?
I started with Return of the King so that I could know what was going to go on
You
before the movie
bastard.
came out. And I went Return of the King, Two Towers, Fellowship, Hobbit, and the Silmarillion.
Oh, wow. So you did read the Silmarillion.
Yeah, entirely backwards.
Now, the Silmarillion's where all this information about the Second Age is coming from.
Kind of, you get some of it, but of course, with the passing, the unfortunate passing of Christopher Tolkien, which was John Ronald Rule's son, he was really kind of more of a driving force in pulling all that stuff together because the Silmarillion wasn't even published until after
After Tolkien was dead.
Dad Tolkien
Or
died.
J.R.R. Yeah.
That's what I thought, that Mr. Christopher Tolkien was the spearhead the guy that spearheaded all the movies or gave the rights.
He was
Yeah.
the one that actually, I guess, bargained off the rights.
Yeah,
to-
because he was the legacy holder
Yeah.
of the rights.
Yeah, he kind of made shit happen.
he
for
was
Lord
he
of the
was
Rings.
actually
Well, Peter Jackson made it happen, but
Well, you know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm saying. He couldn't have made anything happen without this guy.
Yeah, and
Right.
Chris Tolkien was the one that really came through and like, this is what's going to have to happen. This is what you need to do. This is, and I guess he's probably the one that made this deal with Amazon. If you're going to do this, you're
Probably
going to do
was.
it right. You're going to have so much to get done, and kind of pushed it out there.
I'm
so
sure
I
he's not,
wonder.
Sorry, sure he's not missing out on any money. He's already made a shit ton.
He's dead.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But his family will benefit.
Oh, his family will benefit greatly
Yeah.
from everything that's going forward.
190 million.
The way I heard it was 260.
Oh, it's 190 million pounds.
Yeah, which is 260.
About 260 million
$2 million.
Americans.
Maybe that's right or wrong. We don't. Know.
I don't know what the
I
exchange
know
rate is.
We don't know.
I always thought a pound is roughly $3, $3.75 or something.
Wow,
Anyways, it's a lot of fucking
a
money.
lot of fucking money, man.
A lot
and,
of fucking yen.
and like I said, I mean that $260 million was just for the right to be able to do it. That's no production, no casting, no sets, no nothing. It was just a right.
Do you
They're
think?
going to spend more money?
Oh, they're gonna have to.
Yeah.
By the time the first episode airs, they'll have billions into this thing.
I feel like since the last movie, Return of the King, right? That the whole thing kind of dropped off for a little bit. Can you tell me some more shit that our audience might not know about Tolkien, the first guy, J.R.R.
Like, what do you need to know?
Like how
He just had a movie come out.
What was his
was
career?
terrible.
What was his career? What did he do?
He was a-
besides
he was a
being writer?
professor at Cambridge.
Okay,
He was an
And,
English professor.
I mean, he was obviously completely
you-
involved in this.
Do you know,
this
Alex,
thing that he was writing?
that he literally created the Elven language
I did know that.
before he started the books.
I love this guy. He's the Stan Lee of fantasy.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
He created the Elven languages. He created the Dwarven languages. He created
I mean,
this
that's a lot of work.
continent, this world, this mythos. There are characters in his brain that were written on pages that never showed up in any other work.
Right.
I mean, there were people, histories, and people that lineages that have never been mentioned in anything.
But it was all-
he knew where they fit in.
So what you're telling me is it's the opposite of George Lucas and Star Wars.
yes,
Damn right it
he
is.
fleshed his shit out so much. I mean,
They took his whole son's life.
it took his entire son's life figuring
just figure it out,
and
yeah.
putting it together. But
I'm saying that with respect.
you have to look at Lucas's world and expect that some of it came from that.
Oh,
course,
I'm
yeah.
sure that. I mean, I think that anything after 1955, 54.
But I think
54
I also
owes
think that
something to Lord of the Rings.
If you really look at some of the Lord of the Rings stuff, Tolkien, the Tolkien family, and all they're all British. They're from England, UK, that kind of.
No wonder they
Some
wanted
of
to
that
get
stuff possibly comes from the King Arthur mythos.
I'm sure some of it does. I mean, he kind of created. He didn't create the genre, but
away. He stamped it.
the genre that we know as fantasy: orcs, elves, dwarves,
Yeah.
D&D, all that.
All the
comes,
cool shit.
All that comes from Tolkien.
Absolutely,
Every bit of it.
absolutely.
He created elves. Just like
No,
my,
no, he
I don't
didn't
know if he
create
created.
elves.
He may have created them in this context.
Yeah. Orcs.
Maybe not the orcs, but the what's the bigger ones?
the Uruk-hai.
Uruk-hai.
I mean, this guy's
The
awesome.
Uruk-hai was. I will give you 100% Tolkien.
Yeah.
But he fleshed this shit out.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
I
He
mean,
built-
that's awesome.
Well, like I
He
said,
built a universe.
He built so much stuff in his head that was never even put on paper.
There's no way that comic books and everything are not affected completely by Lord of the Rings.
So basically, what you've said is that there's so much information to draw from. Amazon has basically
5
unlike-
seasons ain't shit, is what we're saying.
Unlike what other things, like let's just say Kathleen Kennedy said they had no information to draw from for Star Wars, which is complete and utter BS. But let's go back. Let's not get off on that. But what I'm saying is, Amazon Prime has so much information to pull from to make this show interesting and make it work. That it's almost it is a library.
Yeah, because I mean, essentially, what you do is you take what we've already had published, what we've already had produced and released. So you've got the Lord of the Rings. That was 3 books. You've got the Hobbit. That was 1 book that they ended up 3 movies.
Yeah, it shouldn't
which
have
is
been.
bullshit because they were pulling from all kinds of stuff that wasn't cohesive to Bilbo Baggins' story. But the biggest thing is that you have at least 12 more books of just history of Middle Earth to pull all kinds of content from.
So 4,000 years,
4,000 years in the Second Age,
and they've They've started naming characters, right?
But they have, and that's what's so crazy is that we've got at least 4 to 6 cast members, and only like 1 or 2 of them do we even know who the hell they are.
So their names
Are they fake names or are they placeholders?
See, that's what we're.
I mean, they real names.
That's not what we're entirely sure about because I mean, Galadriel, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
They're casting a young Galadriel.
I mean, we know who that is.
They've talked about casting a young Elrond. Okay,
know them.
we know who those 2 people are.
Yeah.
The other 4 people that they've announced who they've cast are characters that nobody that knows anything about Tolkien lore has ever heard of.
Right.
There are people who have names close to some of them, but they're not those people. So we're not sure if they're created characters for this, which I think would be a mistake.
I do too.
There are so many different people and things that
Lineages
are
and
out
families and
to grab and use
Yeah, you might as well.
that you might as well just do that instead of trying to create your own characters to put in something that you didn't create. Because Tolkien had such an expansive universe. Why not take something he already did and use that instead of trying to put your own fucking stamp on his work?
basically what just happened to Star Wars.
Don't try to shoehorn your bullshit into something that's already established.
Yeah. And damn, I mean, are any of those cast members Game of Thrones people?
Yeah. One of the guys that they have said is supposed to be a character they've named as Beldor, which again, a name that doesn't appear anywhere in
Doesn't ring any bells.
In the lore whatsoever. Is actually the guy that played young Ned Stark in a couple episodes at the end of, I believe it was season 6 or 7.
Oh shit! Any others?
Not that I'm aware of.
What if I hope Stannis shows up in there? Stannis is in everything.
We'll get Dumbledore up in this bitch.
Yeah, damn.
I did see Sir Ian McKellen say that Gandalf was 7,000 years old when he passed away with the elves at the end of Return of the King, and that he would absolutely be alive during this, and that he doesn't believe anyone else can play him.
I don't believe that you really need anybody else to play him. But then again, I mean, if they're casting young Galadriel and they're casting young Elrond, they're going to have to cast at least a younger
Gandalf.
Gandalf, yeah. Well, I mean,
The white, not the gray.
He wasn't even that at the time.
Just Gandalf.
Because, I mean, the white is what happened in Two Towers.
Yeah.
Where he went from gray to white.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what this is based on at all.
No.
No
We don't know where they're starting.
They're not a central character
there's
that we know of.
There's 4,000 years of mythos in the Second Age for them to play with. It's really like 3,400 years, but they call it 4 millennia. We have no idea where they're going to start. We just assume that they're going to start with the Rings of Power.
So what are the highlights of the Second Age?
Well, like I said in the beginning, the Second Age really starts with the tearing down of Beleriand, and that's what begins the Second Age.
And so what is Beleriand?
It's just a province or a town or a city of beings. I'm not even sure. I think they were elves because I don't think men were really prevalent at this point. In the Second Age, when that begins, you have, of course, Numenor is created, and the Numenorians, of course, is a lineage of elves that shows a long, extended life, but a mortal life still at that. So the
elves were offered a choice.
Yeah, the elves were offered a choice that essentially they could lead immortal lives, or they could lead mortal lives, and some chose a middle path where they will die eventually, and they won't have the immortal life that an elf had, but they won't have a mortal life like normal human might live 80 years. A Numenorian, 250, 300 years. I mean, so they're going
still not the 7,000 years of an elf, but
no, but still an unnaturally long life.
Yeah,
essentially like Bilbo had an unnaturally long life.
Now we're familiar with one Numenorian.
We are familiar with one Numenorian. Sometimes gets confused because they call him a Dunedain, which is essentially just a Numenorian that was a ranger at the time. It's a specific group of them, but Aragorn was a Numenorian.
So he had an extended life.
Yes. And Elendil and Isildur were his father and grandfather.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, Isildur plays a giant role.
Oh, yeah, because Isildur, actually, during the battle that ends the Second Age with Sauron, after the Rings of Power are created, Sauron rises to power. He tries to really put his foot down on every being in the land. And the last alliance of elves and men come together, led by Elrond, to put a stop to this. As we see in the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, he comes out, mace bashing motherfuckers in the face.
Yeah, he is. He's a fucking tearing shit
awesome.
up.
So at one point, he ends up killing Elendil, which is the king of men. And as he turns around, or the king of the Numenorians, As he turns around, Isildur picks up essentially what's left of his sword, Narsil,
Yeah.
and chops off the hand of Sauron.
And his fingers fly off.
Yeah, his fingers fly off.
and
the
so does the ring.
lands.
Yeah.
He picks it up. Boom. End of it. Into the Second Age.
So that is the end of the Second Age.
Return of the King is the end of the Second Age.
No.
That's not.
The scene he's referring to is at the beginning of the Fellowship, and that's a history that gets you caught up to where we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a history of why the ring doesn't belong to Sauron.
So that is, I know I sound stupid, but I'm kind of talking for the audience that might not know too. That's the Third Age that those movies
That's
are
the
in.
beginning of the Third Age. That stuff that you see at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring is the end of the Second Age and the beginning of the Third. So the Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, all that stuff happens in the Third Age.
So this is all a prequel to that.
This show that's on Amazon is going to be thousands of years before all
Before
of that.
that.
So it's going to be
And then there's even untapped potential for a First Age.
Yeah, I mean there's a First Age, a Second Age, a Third Age, and actually a Fourth Age.
I'm about to say we really don't know shit about the
So
Fourth
there's
Age.
there's 20, 30 years of shit that they can tell.
Absolutely.
And its technology gets better and better. This will never stop.
'Cause
Hopefully.
you jump to the end.
That's what you want.
Well, what you have here is you jump to the end of the Return of the King and kind of get into your question a little bit. At the end of the Return of the King, whenever they throw the ring in Mount Doom and it all starts to explode and the Eagles come and pick up Sam and Frodo, that's the end of the Third Age. That starts the Fourth Age of Man.
Okay. How many years does that take place over? I don't recall.
They don't really tell you.
I think
So it could
it's
be
not
100 years. We don't know.
No, it's not more than it's not.
5
It's
years.
Well,
right?
I mean, you think Bilbo was 111. He had the ring from Gollum. Gollum had it for a long time.
Gollum had it for a long
So I
time.
mean,
Gollum
you got to think
sucked
the
up.
Third Age is probably 300-400
no,
years.
I just meant from Fellowship to the end of Return of the King. It's not
Oh
that
yeah,
much
that
time.
happens within a year.
Yeah, that's
two.
not.
Okay, that's
not,
what I was
Yeah,
asking too.
the whole Fellowship from the beginning of the Fellowship to the end of the Return of the King is like a year and a half.
That main is that a, this is a dumb question, but I don't know the answer. Is that the main story of Lord of the Rings? That
Yeah,
era?
that's the whole.
Yeah,
That is the Lord of
and
the
that's
Rings.
the end.
that is it.
And that's the end of the Third Age.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking intense.
It's wild, man.
That's a lot. Of
But
shit.
I mean, that's what you like. You've got 4,000 years of stuff that you can go from this show. There's still the Third Age stuff before and stuff after that doesn't have to do with the hobbits that you could tell. There's stuff in the First Age that you could tell. They could go to the future and talk about what happens in the Fourth Age because we don't see any of the.
Do you
Fourth
know
Age.
how long those ages are?
There's stuff set out to it, but I don't know. I didn't come across that information.
So here's something that everyone needs to know, though: there be dragons.
Darby Dragon.
But not all ages are 4,000 years.
No. The Second Age at 3,400 years was the longest recorded history.
Gotcha. But they're marked by events.
Yep, they're marked by events. Like I said, the Second Age begins with tearing down of Beleriand. The Third Age begins with the last alliance of elves and men taking down Sauron for the first time.
Yeah.
The Third Age essentially ends with them taking down Sauron again,
Yeah.
Palpatine.
Palpatine style.
Shit.
Yeah. Except for explained well.
Except for actually explained, he didn't just pop up
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah, I mean,
Palpatine's sour, though.
a couple of the other things that happen. I mean, in the
not a
Second
Ron.
Age, Rivendell is created. Elrond goes and creates him
It's a
Landris.
badass Rush tune, if you haven't heard it.
He creates him Landris. That's Rivendell. Also, the Numenor, the basically like the homeland of the Numenorians, is
It's created.
created and falls
All within that age.
all within the Second Age because it's 4,000 years. I mean, you have the creation of Andor and Gondor, which is the last holds of men.
And you said Rohan, too, right?
I would assume Rohan is in there somewhere because Andor and it's like Andor is in the north, Gondor is in the south, and if I'm not mistaken, Rohan is in the west.
I think they were in the east or the west. I don't remember which.
That's one of the two. It ain't north or south.
Nope.
There's so much potential with this TV show that I really hope they get it right. I really hope they're not trying to shoehorn their own bullshit into a lure that already exists.
It's either going to be really good or it could be really fucking rotten.
Because if I remember correctly, one of the writers was I think a writer on Game of Thrones.
I think that's right. I think I've seen that a lot of Game of Thrones people are actually
Hopefully not the last season.
attached to this.
I think it was like the 5th season or something. Yeah, did like 11 episodes in the middle of the show.
Well, there's definitely good episodes of Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Game of Thrones is awesome.
So I mean, this set in a fantasy world just like that was.
it's cooler than Game of Thrones.
It is
You
because
gotta admit, it's cool.
To me,
I mean,
it is, but I'm so ingrained. in this.
I remember getting bitched at once for saying Game of Thrones was fantasy light.
I did that.
because it is. It has what? It has 3 dragons in it.
Yeah.
And then nothing else.
It has
Yeah, but you were
3 dragons in it, and 2 of them get
Here's
killed
what he
pretty
got
fast.
bitched at for. He was staunchly against it without watching it. Until
Sounds
he
like
watched.
somebody else.
Not me. I try things out.
I know you-
Justice League.
Rick and Morty.
Oh fuck! I watched it. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. I watched it. Adam would just say, "I'm not even gonna try it out."
What I said was, I would ask questions like this: Orcs? No. Magic? No.
What's the point?
What's why? Why?
Fair enough. I'm with him.
Those are good questions. I just said Game of Thrones is good. You know?
You know what it was?
Yeah, it was. Doesn't have to have an orc.
It
It's
was
got
really.
titties.
It was really good for the first. I mean, I enjoyed the first 5 seasons or so.
If they're going to do any of this shit, they're going to have to cast most likely cast a young Legolas.
Well, Legolas
I bet that
is,
guy's gonna do it.
I mean, Legolas. No, he
He
can't.
can't.
I mean, Legolas.
Likely, he would have been a child at this point.
Yeah,
Oh,
he would have
fuck,
been.
okay.
I mean, because you got to think like you take the Lord of the Rings and you subtract 4,000 years from it.
Well, how old is Legolas?
Who knows?
He could be 4,000 years old.
That's what I mean. They would have to
And
cast a child.
he'd
Yeah,
be
yeah.
a baby
What if he was
They don't-
8,000?
they don't-
years
because he's
old?
obviously not as old as Elrond.
They don't spring from Zeus's
I mean-
head fully grown.
He's obviously not as old as Elrond and some
No.
of the other.
Celebrimbor,
Elves.
Galadriel.
Yeah, so to subtract 4,000 years off him would get it pretty far back there for him.
I know what you just said.
I know that's exactly what I was thinking. I don't know what you just said, little kid, but I love you.
Man, I don't know what the fuck you just said, little kid. But you're special, man. You reached out and you touched it by the heart.
There's three elf lords. You already know Elrond.
Yeah.
You already know Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrimbor was the third.
I don't know him.
Nobody ever talks about him.
Okay.
He's
But he
never
does.
mentioned.
He does show up. Do you know whenever you see Lady Galadriel
You're
in
right.
the Fellowship
He is-
of the Ring?
he is standing
that's
there.
who's there.
I know.
Tolkien's
That's
got a
that
thing
guy.
for Rons. There's a lot of Rons going on.
It's got a D on the end of it and an EL on the front. Sauron was an elf.
I was going to say, is Sauron an elf?
Yes, he was an elf that went corrupt.
He's
I like that.
fucking massive, though. He's fucking huge.
Most of that's armor.
Is he played by Christopher Lee? Or is
No,
that
no.
Sauron?
That was
That's
Saruman.
Okay.
Saruman the
Sorry,
White.
guys. I don't know shit.
No, you're fine.
Sauron the many-colored.
But you can tell how I feel about Lord of the Rings because I'm not picking on it like
It's funny.
other things. I'm like legitimately interested.
It's
in
funny
it.
because, Saruman was played by Christopher Lee, so he's like one of the most badass.
Don't fucking go
Wizards.
there.
And
Don't
then-
fucking go there.
And then
Quit this shit.
has-
I know the shit that's coming out of your mouth
he's
right now.
the best lightsaber fighter to ever exist, Count Dooku.
I can smell the turds coming out of your mouth. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck that.
And he
yeah.
was Dracula.
He was Dracula. There you
Darth
go.
Poo Poo.
We
Fuck
discussed
that.
that ad nauseum.
I know. We got to stop that. In fact, me and Munch
That's
talked
amazing.
today at the store. Star Wars band's back on.
Is it?
Yeah,
Why is the Star Wars? No.
it's on.
It can't be.
That was the Star Wars door shutting tight until
So a
season
Mandalorian-
till season 2 of
A Mandalorian
Mandalorian.
shot the door controls and the door slammed.
Yep,
Yeah.
done.
Cut a man in half. No,
I wanna-
bullshit.
Yeah, we're done. Tight. She's tidied up. That door's shut.
I already have stuff written down.
We'll use it eventually. But it's kind of like, remember when movies would go into the vault? Star Wars is in the vault now.
Why?
Because we don't need to talk about it
But we're gonna
again.
have announcements coming and things being talked.
We'll talk about it then, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But just not
We'll
on
talk
this
about it
episode.
when it happens.
Well,
Not
yeah,
I'll
now.
just edit out all the Star Wars references in this one.
No, you won't. That's awesome. Those are awesome.
That was a good point about Christopher Lee. I liked that.
I hate that.
That was awesome.
I feel
Makes
like
sense.
I feel like that role is what took his life.
Well, see, he's a killer wizard in the Lord of the Rings, and he's an even better laser wizard in Star Wars.
I know you don't believe the shit that's coming out your mouth.
I love Christopher Lee. I
Yeah,
think
but
he's
you
amazing.
don't love Count Poo Poo.
He's Darth Tyrannus.
Yeah,
Darth
but-
Tyrannus.
Guys,
bitching.
you guys,
With his dildo
this is not
lightsaber.
about. I can do an episode on Count Dooku. Come on.
We already have.
We already have
No,
a few of them.
just me talking. Okay.
Trust me, I had to edit down that part of that to like 2 minutes
And
because it just kept going.
Adjust
and
my levels.
going. Oh, I had to pull you down off clip the
Yeah.
entire time.
That's amazing.
Damn, I hate
You were
him.
just screaming.
So there's a great potential for this to be a fucking
Oh.
great series,
It could
as long as they're not just fucking it.
they pretty much have to, all these people that they've cast, they're hiding who they are.
Stannis has to be one of
I
them.
would assume that they're trying to hide who they are,
At least the Red Witch.
to not give away where they're starting their journey for this.
I mean, it makes sense because it's still got another 2 years, doesn't it? I mean, basically another year.
They said that it's supposed to premiere on Amazon Prime sometime in 2021. Now, I fully expect it to be like third, fourth quarter, sometime like
Yeah.
around
Probably will
Halloween,
be.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, before any of that shit hits airwaves, because they're not even started production on it yet.
And it's going to be huge.
They've not started any.
I mean,
They've only got 5 people cast.
like you said at the beginning, I know that this is going to have crazy fucking budgets.
But they did say it is going to be set in New Zealand, just like
So-
the Lord of the Rings movies were. So it's back to the old country where they can get everything correct as far as the look and the feel.
Just rewatching those movies, even the CG is really advanced for its time.
Absolutely.
But the fucking scenery is gorgeous.
Yeah, the scenery's great.
They did
Just
so-
fucking gorgeous.
They stand up because they did so much stuff with practical effect.
Yeah, like the Uruk-hai,
Dudes in suits.
that's dudes in suits.
They
That's
look
why
cool as
That's
fuck.
why it looks good.
They had so many extras that, I mean, you like one of the bigger CG scenes was that big battle in the beginning with Sauron.
Yeah.
And the last allegiance.
I love
of
when
men
the
and
elves pulled their swords up.
You know
And
what?
it's in like that
That was about 8 people.
and it's
and
in
then it
that
was just
rolling, but they
duplicated.
just duplicated it. Well, what's neat is they did such a good job with that, because I remember maybe I watched the extra footage
Oh,
that
yeah.
was in the appendices that came with the extended
I
versions.
watched most of that shit.
Okay, so you remember when they developed a computer program so they could CGI armies that everyone in it didn't just behave identically,
Yeah,
so
they-
that it
they
looked
did
like
different things.
Yeah, they all
Yeah.
did different
I
things, so
saw
it didn't fuck your because your eye can pick up that they're all doing
Absolutely.
the exact same movie.
They created so many different advances in technology
They
to
did.
make these movies
And then
work.
Weta Studios with this armor, like the armor that they handmade
Yeah.
for every. See now, surely this series is going to go back to that. They're going to have. I mean, surely Weta's going to be involved.
You would assume
Is Peter Jackson involved?
Peter Jackson has been asked about this, and he's a producer, and I think he kind of came along and said, like, I'm not going to have much to do with this unless they want something from me, and if they come, I will try to help them. But he's trying to be as hands off, like, I did my shit. You guys tell your story, and if you need something from me, I'm here.
Cool. Now,
Peter Jackson deserves a lot of praise. That's a hell of a thing to direct into a movie.
Well,
Dude.
that's the other thing that
you know what I'm saying?
you've got to think about this. These 3 movies, The Lord of the Rings, they were created and started production in like 1996.
That's way back.
They were
man.
filmed all 3 at the exact same
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
I've often argued that when people say, "Oh, I like Return of the King better than I like Two Towers,"
They're all one movie.
it's just one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, like, anytime everybody goes, "What's your favorite movie?" and I say Lord of the Rings, they're like, "Oh, it's cop out bullshit." I'm like, no, it's not. They were all filmed at exactly the same time.
Yeah, it's
It's the same
and
story.
it was to keep from having the aging of the actors.
and it's beautiful.
How long did it take them to film it?
4 years.
Like I told you, they started in '96, and the first one came out in '01.
Wow, I didn't know it was that
I think
far.
they wrapped it in like 99 or 2000, and the production of putting the CG and
Yeah.
all this.
So the actors were done in
like
99.
1998,
before the
1999.
first one came out.
Yeah.
Wow.
You'll continue to give us updates as information's made available, right?
Yes, I will keep you up to date on information that
Please
is
do.
available about the Lord of the Rings.
Please do, because I want to know, motherfucker.
Please.
I want to know what it's going to be called, because it can't be called Lord of the Rings.
It'll be called Lord of the Rings something.
You know, it's
I mean,
really
they could technically just call it like the Second Age of Middle Earth.
because it's
or-
really not the Lord of the Rings.
it's not,
That-
and because the Lord of the Rings was
Is that
just
story?
that story.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be Crisis on Middle Earth.
I mean,
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Crisis on Middle Earth.
I just said that, you fuck.
No, you didn't say it like I said it.
I know.
It wasn't as authoritative.
Fervent.
Crisis on Middle Earth.
Essentially, I mean, they could really call it Second Age of Middle Earth, Middle Earth in the second age. I mean, there's tons of different opportunities they
They'll
could call it.
Probably want something Lord of the Rings
It's going to
related.
say
Most likely.
Lord of the Rings real little.
It's going to say LotR.
I would think that it would have something to do with Middle Earth, and that way they could leave the Lord of the Rings off of it
That sounds good.
and not have to call it that. Because since it doesn't have a name right now, that's the only thing they can use to keep this in the headline.
That's true.
When's the first episode coming out?
2021.
Okay, we'll be doing this still. I guarantee it's got Lord of the Rings. It's somewhere in the title.
I bet it does.
I'd almost bet money that it doesn't.
Okay.
Okay,
I hope
there it
doesn't.
is.
It's on the podcast.
It has been recorded. $1.
You heard it.
$1 says that Lord of the Rings
Audience
is not
members,
part of that title.
And I'm saying $1, Eric owes me that it's in there.
They're shaking.
We are shaking hands.
I've seen it. I've witnessed it.
This is the hand that I touch myself with when I think about you.
I'm all right with that.
All right.
At least
All right.
somebody's thinking about
It'll
me.
be
Now.
It'll be Lord of the Rings: Rise of the
The
Skywalker.
heat is on.
Yeah.
The heat is on.
Is it? Is that
Yep.
why it's hot in here?
Yep. All right, guys. This has been episode 27 of the Blitzkrieg Pop. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great one. What's up, party animals? This is Adam.
Party animal.
Party people.
You like that? Did you just break it? Did you just break your chair?
Sure
You
did.
can't put any weight on this.
It's all right that it's not movie quality.
You know what I've learned, audience, is you can't put any weight on a fucking cloth chair.
Straight up Jordan.
just,
You just ruined it.
Just ruined it, man.
This is Adam from the Blitzkrieg Pop. We're here to announce a new feature coming soon.
Our Patreon account.
A Patreon. Patreon. I can't say it without popping through my pop filter.
I feel that shit. What do you think of that, Munch?
I will be doing some topless baking.
We're going to get Munch nude in the studio.
We've noticed if there are nipples, then there's money coming in.
So here's what we're thinking, guys. Now, we need help with tiers, but we are going to set up a tier system. We're going to be announcing what gets what and, what the tiers amounts are. Help us out. Hit us up with some suggestions. And we've got some ideas, but there'll be more to come about this in the future. I mean, we need equipment. We need, there's always something that we need for this show.
Yachts and Bugattis and new houses.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And ranch and potato chips.
For every 20 Patreon subscribers, I will wear a Princess Leia metal bikini.
Ooh.
That's terrible.
I
I
will
don't want to be in the
I
room.
will wear
for it.
exactly what I'm wearing at the current moment, which is shoes, socks,
I
jeans.
do know
underwear,
this.
and
We're
shorts.
absolutely going to have a tier of the Patreon that's going to be merch related. Merch. Munch merch. Smunch merch.
Smirch.
We're going to have, it's all going to be smunch.
I feel like the
Flavored.
thing on your head could be
Nobody-
the icon for the show.
Nobody wants shit to do with me.
We're going to have an
Bullshit. That's-
animated CGI munch.
Yeah. And Munch will be the nipple action that brings the money in.
Fucking A, it will be.
Yeah, he's
Look at him playing with those
cupping
things.
those things. Cupping those things.
We're going to have behind the scenes all access tier. We're going to have bonus episodes for damn sure.
You'll be able to catch us doing videos of the dumb shit that you're hearing.
So as we're trying to move towards a video podcast, we need equipment. There's just things that we need, and the best way to do that, hopefully, is to ask you guys who listen to us if you could maybe just kick us a little bit of that monetary support.
It's cheaper than Starbucks.
It's cheaper than fucking
Everything's cheaper than
just about-
Starbucks.
That's a damn good point. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee.
It's cheaper than a fucking package of gum.
It's cheaper than a McChicken.
It's about the same price as a McChicken.
I like a good McChicken.
I like shredded lettuce. And
My
no
problem
mayo.
is-
extra mayo.
My problem is I have to have 2 McChickens to be full.
My
Yeah.
problem with McChickens is I will eat 2, then I eat a third one, and I'm too full.
Here's what I do. I get 2 double cheeseburgers and a
We
McChicken.
know what you
or
do.
what the fuck? Or possibly the other way around, 2 McChickens and a double cheeseburger.
Do you put them together?
No, you eat one and then the opposite and then the other one of the second that you got the first.
That's like a palate cleanser?
No, it's just the dumb shit that I do.
Where do the chicken nuggets come in?
What about them?
They're dessert.
It's sweet and sour, baby.
Anyway, so we're going to have a Patreon, and we hope you guys come and join us for that.
Peace.
That's good. That's a wrap.